All right, guys. Welcome to the BabeWaves relaunch. We are so excited. Haley and I have literally been talking all day, like basically bouncing up and down. We've had so much hype in us. I was listening to my music and I was just like, Haley, I can't stop bouncing. I'm so excited. I was like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, this is so weird for me. I've done so many presentations and for some reason, I'm just so excited and so nervous all at the same time for this. So, all right, guys, here we go. So BabeWaves, we're doing something totally new. We've changed almost everything you can think of, and we've made it the absolute best that we think we can make it as of right now for where Haley and I are. Sarah, Logan, Nick, Mike, everybody has put their 2 cents in it, and this is what we're doing. So let me hit my notes here. Our mission is very, very simple. Women empowering women, educating, empowering, and engaging women on a personal and business level. We're here as women to get other women involved, to help each other the best to our abilities. Our vision, so Haley's gonna talk a little bit more about this later, but our vision is to not be separate from Wavemakers. Not at all is this separate from Wavemakers. This is an extension of Wavemakers and a utilization. Nick and Mike have created something great, and we're just adding on to that. We're not going anywhere separate. This is all right with Wavemakers. So to explain the vision really simply, we're working with the women within Wavemakers to create a tight-knit community that allows them to utilize us as women to grow in our personal and business endeavors. So I'm really excited about that. I can't imagine leaving Wavemakers ever, so I had to do something within it to just keep it going, to use my strengths even more, to use Haley's strengths and Logan's and Sarah's and really all the women, because at the end of the day, this BabeWaves, it's not about the people who started, it's about the people who are in it. So every single woman is going to have a say in it. They're going to be a part of everything. So we're going to go over a few values that Haley and I have talked about, Logan and I have talked about, Sarah and I have talked about. So if you guys have a pen and paper, this is what you're going to want to write down. All right, so our first group value. Our first group value as BabeWaves, I'm sure Wavemakers can agree with this, is state first. In everything you do, you have to be in the right state of mind. You can't be, if you're going into a business meeting, you can't be thinking about your dog. You can't be thinking about other things. You have to be in the business mindset. You got to be ready. You're going to be like, I'm going to crush this. I'm going to get that sale right now. You have to be in the right state of mind. You can't go into like a funeral just as if you were at a party, right? You're not bouncing at a funeral. You got to be in the right state, and you got to learn how to control it and figure out how to pull that when you need it. If you've ever been to a Tony Robbins event, he talks about that. It's really, really important. The second thing is ownership. So the first one, state first. Second one is ownership. Ownership is so important because you have to understand and take ownership for the fact that you are responsible for what you are in right now. In every aspect of your life, you have gotten yourself there. Every choice you've made. I, for one, this is a really important one for me because I went through a lot when I was in high school, and I sat there and I used to blame others. Anybody else ever blame somebody for how their situation was going? It's so easy. But taking ownership is understanding that you allowed that to bother you. You allowed yourself to be in that location. And even though you might seem like it's out of your control, it's completely in your control. And a lot of times you think your choice is for the better. And a lot of times it is, but sometimes it lands you in the wrong spot. And I'm going to tell you something that's really personal to me that I dealt with ownership. And it was with my sister about 4 years ago. Has anybody ever heard of the Boston Marathon? Yeah? So my sister was at the Boston Marathon about 4 years ago. It might have been 5 years ago now, 2013. And she was sitting not very far away from a place called Olympia Sports. So if anybody knows about the Boston Marathon, it was, somebody put 2 bombs there, blew it up, and it was right in front of Olympia Sports. My sister sat there and she was watching everything happen after the bomb happened, and she just was frozen. And she watched a few people get really, really sick. A lot of people have to get revived and tourniquets on. And she just sat there and she was like, Lexi, I froze. She was like, I let people be more injured because I didn't do anything. And she just kept saying like it was all her fault. And I was like, that's amazing that you can take ownership for that, but it's also not your fault. You know who has to take ownership for that? Everybody who is there. I was like, you don't have to just take ownership for the fact that you let things like that happen, but you have to take ownership for the fact that you decided to get on that train that went down to Boston. You decided to go there. And she took this situation, and this is really the first time that ownership was really big in my life. When she took the situation, it was like, I did that. It really just made me resonate with like, you have to take ownership for the bad in your life. And then I also have to tell you a story about ownership and the positives. So many people, and I'm one of them, I'm sure Nick can relate, Haley can relate, we take ownership for the negative, but so much forget the positives. We forget to praise ourselves for the things we do amazing. I was on a volleyball team. We won a state championship, and this girl on the bench didn't see an ounce of playing time during playoffs. And she sat there and she was like, I didn't do anything. I won this medal, but I didn't do anything. And I'm like, okay, I turned to her. Her name was Delaney. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, you sat there and you cheered for me. You cheered for the team. You cheered for our city. And she goes, yeah, I guess, but like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, I can promise you. She was the only person on the bench that cheered. So this was a really big thing for us. I was like, I can promise you that I would not have been so hyped in certain moments if I didn't look over and see you bouncing up and down on the bench. And it's about ownership in every aspect of your life for the negatives and the positives. So ownership is really, really important. And BabeWaves is going to be a huge part of that because you have to take ownership for where you are. And that's going to lead into our first month, which is kind of cutting the bullshit out of your life. We're going to take ownership for where we are, positively and negatively. All right, so number 3. This is a huge one. Every single successful person I know will tell you that 3 things have to be in line: what you think, what you say, and what you do. You can think something, but if you don't do it and you don't say it, it doesn't matter. It's probably not going to be done. So what you think, what you say, and what you do need to be congruent. If you say, I'm an athlete, you need to go do what athletes do. You need to say what athletes say. You can't just say it and then imagine it to be true. You have to go be it. So what you think, what you say, and what you do must be congruent. All right, this is a huge one. Now, I'll even kind of talk personally about this one because I tend to kind of shy away from this sometimes. I'm sure we all have at one point. Communicate for the greater good. If you do not have anything nice to say, your parents probably said this to you once. You do not have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You have to communicate that's going to put positive vibes out there. This group, Wave Makers, BabeWaves, everybody talks about the vibration and the energy you bring. And it's so crucial. You have to talk in a positive manner. You have to give out positive energy. You have to communicate only for the greater good. If it's not going to benefit anybody, don't say it. And you know what? Don't think it because it's just going to be bad for your brain. It's just going to put you in a negative state. You have to keep your brain in a greater good place. So you have to communicate for the greater good. And this means everything you say, everything you act on. You can not say anything, but I'm going to tell you, anybody who's ever been to a seminar, verbal is not the biggest communicator. It's nonverbal. It's the way you hold yourself. It's the way you react on your face. I mean, so many people know about the resting bitch face. It's a thing. It really is, and it hurts a lot of strangers. I can tell you, when you go down the street and you have a sad or gloomy face, people notice. And let me tell you what they notice more. When you're going down the street and you're just smiling at them and you're like, hey, have a great day. You got to stay in that state in order to help other people around us, because this world would be a lot nicer if everybody on the street smiled. I think we can all agree with that. All right. Flexibility. This is the other one. I'll go over the last ones just to go really quick. Number 1, state first. Number 2 is ownership. Number 3 is think, say, do congruent. And number 4 is communicate for the greater good. All right, number 5. We have 2 more. Number 5, flexibility. You have to be flexible in your life. How many people here have planned something down to a T and then nothing went right? Not one thing. Everything just went wrong, and you did everything, you planned for things to go wrong, and things still went so wrong. You were just so overwhelmed. I'm going to tell you right now, in entrepreneurship, in life, in happiness, in relationships, things are going to go wrong. And if you don't accept that they're going to go wrong early on, you're going to disappoint yourself. So you have to learn to be flexible with everything you do. Be flexible with your schedule. Be flexible with your time, with everything, with people. I've had a bad day. My friends have to be flexible because they're just like, okay, Lexi's having a bad day. Maybe she just needs a hug. You have to be flexible with whatever is coming at you. On top of that, don't be too flexible. You need to have standards. Don't allow people to walk all over you. That's something that a lot of people tend to misconstrued, or whatever that word is they tend to forget that even though you're flexible, it does not give people the right to walk all over you. When people cheat on you in relationships, don't be flexible. Just get away. Just walk away. All right, the last one. The last group value, number 6. This one is probably one of my favorite, and one that I think Nick is going to like a lot, and he never heard me say this. One of the most important things you have to do is always be above the line. This is your line. This is what you do in life. You always have to perform above it. You have to do more than necessary. In relationships, if you think about the relationships that work, it's the ones where people do more than they need to for their significant other. For entrepreneurs, the people that succeed, it's not the people who did the bare minimum. It's not even the people that did average. It's the people that went above the line and did more. I've coached a lot of volleyball players. I've coached a lot of kids in high school, in personal stuff, and I've never met somebody successful that did not do more than I told them to do. And you have to be able to do that for yourself. You have to be able to hold yourself to a higher standard. That's just really, really important to me, because I hold my friends to that. And if you have friends on here, we're all friends. We're all family. Have them be your accountability partner. And I literally, my social media marketing, when we do what we do and someone's failing or going down on their skill level, I'm above the line. That's all I have to say, because that's what it is. And in this group, I tell Haley, I'm gonna have to tell Haley if she's slacking one day, I'm above the line. And that's all I have to say, because it's dude, you know better. You do more, you're gonna get better results. There's no complaining when you're always working above the line. All right. I knocked myself out with how excited I am right now. All right. So we're going to talk about BabeWaves and what it does and how it's connected to wave makers, and what it is and what it isn't. One of the first things I want to do, though, for my women on board is give you 2 quotes that are really important to me, really important to Haley, that I think every woman needs to hear. The first one is, girls compete with each other, women empower one another. We are not here to knock each other down. We are not here to compete. We are not here to take anybody's sales. We are here to lift them up when they win. We are here to pull them when they're falling behind, because we're here for each other and we're empowering one another to continuously do better and do more. So that's the first quote. The second quote, I wrote 3. Awesome. Actually, Haley wrote the last one, so I'm going to have her speak on that one. The second one is, I was in Boston the other week, and you probably saw me post it, but strong women make waves. I loved that one. It was really exciting to see that in the middle of Boston after a Red Sox game. It was awesome. So Haley, do you want to talk about the third one so that you get the opportunity to speak on that? I can't tell if she's frozen or there she is. All right. Can anybody hear?
I'm here, but I can't see it. I don't remember. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can everybody else hear her? Shake your heads. All right, sweet.
Yeah, Lex, I can't see it. I don't have it on my thing. I don't remember what it was.
Queens adjust each other's crowns. Queens adjust each other's crowns.
Oh, yes. Okay. Nice. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk really quick. Haley's going to talk about women in business. So this is important for the guys to hear as much as the girls. for when you have people that you want on this team, guys, if you have a woman you want on the team, or women you have other women, this is really important. Haley and I had to talk about this a lot because, well, first of all, we had this whole idea of what we were doing, and then she sent me this YouTube, and it just like messed with our brains. We were like, oh crap, we have to be so careful on how we do this because we don't want to do certain things and have people see us a certain way. We have to be very careful about how we present ourselves. So I'm going to have Haley take this away. And so you have the mic, hey?
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you guys, you have to realize how much work Lexi is putting into what we're doing. It's incredible. It's phenomenal. I appreciate you. You really help balance me out. You know that you have skill sets that I definitely don't. And so it's incredible to see your work, and I appreciate you. I'm excited to see what happens as we progress forward. So yeah, she's right. When we were discussing like what we wanted to talk about on this call, she was like, oh, women in business, like go ahead, look into, some information on that, like do some digging and figure out what you want to talk about. And so I went into YouTube and I typed women in business, right? And the first one that popped up, what she talked about shifted my paradigm so massively. It hit me to the core. I was like, oh God, like, what are we going to do? And I almost didn't say anything. And then I was like, no, like, I have to say something. This is really important. So growing up, I remember like in high school, let's say that we had like the Copperheads, right? That was our team, like our school team name, and so, but it would be like the Lady Copperheads, right? For like the volleyball team or whatever, the Lady Copperheads. And I remember like getting this feeling, I was like, why do we have to specify that it's ladies? Like, why does it have to be separate? And so it was a very like conflicting thing that I was feeling with like doing BabeWaves, right? I was like, oh my goodness, like, what are we doing? And as she progressed, she explained this woman on the call, or on the YouTube video, she explained her point of view. And so I'm gonna talk to you guys about some of the things that she touched on, and why Lexi said that it's important for us to be careful about what it is that we're doing and the way that we're speaking about BabeWaves and why we're doing this. And so one of the main things of why we're doing BabeWaves is because men and women think differently. Our brains are wired differently. We connect to one another and relate to one another differently. Like if I were to be having a difficult time with a relationship or with something personal, I would probably more likely go to like a girlfriend or like another female than I would to a man. And it's the same for men. Like if they're having certain issues, they would probably go to their guy friends, depending on what it is. Like, so we really want to create this community of women where we feel comfortable to be vulnerable and to really, be able to connect with one another on that level, because we do connect differently. And so something that this woman talked about women in business is that it's really not something that's extraordinary or remarkable for women to be in business or to be doctors or lawyers or women in powerful positions, right? And not that we haven't come a really long way, because the women before us have fought and really worked hard to get us to where we are today as women, right? Like we didn't always have the rights that we do. We didn't always have the opportunities that we do to be independent and to thrive and to create our lives the way that we want to, right? And so something that she was talking about is how women tend to get praised just for being women in business, and not for the value that they're bringing, not for the skill sets, not for the action that they're taking, and for the results that they're producing. It tends to be like, oh, like you're a woman, that's great that you're doing this, and that's amazing, and that's really it. And the men don't really get the praise in that way. Like it's just kind of expected. So it's not this like equal playing field in that kind of mentality, right? In the corporate world, there's still inequality. There's still a glass ceiling. There's still women who are not getting paid as much as their male counterparts for doing the exact same work. They're not getting the respect up front like, you know, the men do. And so we really want to make sure that we're empowering women and we're not creating a crutch, right? So a lot of times we do think that glorifying women in business and in, you know, really anything for them being a woman and doing something extraordinary is helping them, but it really doesn't, because it's kind of like, if you think about, instead of it being like genders, it being like a shoe size or an eye color, like, oh, you have brown eyes, that's great that you could do this, right? It sounds kind of crazy when you think about it like that, right? And so gender is the same thing. Like we are all equal, and that's what Wave Makers is about, is this equal opportunity. And so something that we really do want to do is to genuinely praise women and men for the results that they're producing, the value that they're bringing, and for who they are as a person, not because they're a male or a female. And so it's really cool. And I'm looking at my notes here, just so you guys know, that's why I'm looking down here. So in our industry, indirect selling and network marketing, it's incredible because there is no glass ceiling. There's no one to say like, oh, like, you're a woman, I'm not going to pay you as much. Like, that doesn't happen. It doesn't have anything to do with your gender, your race, your sexuality, where you're from. Like, none of that stuff matters in our industry. What matters is the value that you bring to the people that you're sharing yourself and your like our business with, right? And our product. That's what really matters. And so, did you guys know that 82% of our industry is women? 82%. That's insane. And 80% of women who make over 6 figures do it from the comfort of their own home. And so what we're doing here is we're a new way of creating and generating wealth, okay? And so in corporate America, we tend to, like, as women, something that happens is we are told that we need to suppress our femininity. We need to suppress our emotions. We need to suppress who we are and be more like a man to compete in a man's world, right? To succeed and to be taken seriously and to get that respect. And I know, you know, the guys on this call, I know you guys don't experience that, but this is where we're still kind of here in our society. We have come a long way, but you know, it takes work. And so it really is a delicate line that we're walking here. So it's really, when women are able to like fully be who they are, express their emotions, be authentic, it becomes very unfulfilling for them. And it does for men as well, because I'm not just talking about like our meat suit, right? Like, I have a female body, but I have masculine energies as well. Every single person does. There's men who have core energies that are that are feminine. There are women who have core energies that are masculine. We all have both of these energies within us, and honoring that and embracing both aspects of who we are is incredibly empowering, and it's going to take us really far. So in our industry, it's actually really exciting because femininity is not something that's not only just accepted, but it's encouraged. You know, things like being nurturing, collaborating, being authentic, being soft and kind, and having emotions, emotional intelligence. Those are things that are really encouraged in our industry. And so the women and men who show up fully as themselves, fully authentically, because authenticity and all of those things are feminine qualities, they make more money. They do better. Like, we're in an industry that literally we thrive when we are being truest to ourselves and who we are. And that is both feminine and masculine energies, right? So once again, the purpose of BabeWaves is not for us to separate from wave makers. That's not at all what we're doing. And we want to bring people together. We just really want this community to allow women to really connect with one another, because we do think differently. We do relate differently. And when you're in a group, like, let's say you have a girls' night, it's an entirely different experience than if there's a mix of men and women together. You're not like, it's, you kind of maybe hold back a little bit. You wouldn't necessarily talk about the things that you normally would with just your friends, your girlfriends, whatever. And so that's what we want to create here, is we just want to create that platform for women to feel comfortable and confident and feeling that sense of community with other women. And so some really interesting facts about women that I discovered in this video that she talked about is that, so do you guys know who Kevin O'Leary is? He's on Shark Tank, and he was talking about how in business, or in his businesses all across the board, like different businesses and things like that, women were running the most profitable businesses that he had, right? And also Olympic medal winners in countries with smaller gender gaps tended to win more medals, not just the women, but the men. So it doesn't just benefit the women for us to have this equality and to look beyond our gender. It benefits the men as well. And so we need to kind of question the way that we're looking at things and the way that we're speaking about men and women, because the more that we close that gap, it's going to benefit all of us. And so and remember those statistics that I said, 82% of the industry is women, right? And so empowering women and allowing this equality, it benefits the men as well. And so that's really what we're about. We want to bring all of us together and bring the masculine, the feminine together, to empower the feminine, to the masculine has kind of been a little overbearing for a really long time, and the feminine energies is coming back. And so we just want to bring that balance together. That's pretty much all I got. And so, Lexi, if there's anything else that you want to add, I appreciate all of you for being here. And I'm super excited to see where we go. I'm so pumped. We get to create what we want, and we have the most phenomenal platform to do so. So, Lexi, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, so I just have one thing really, and it was really just off what Haley was saying about like the Olympics and it's benefiting the men as well. I'm going to tell you guys, however many people in here are in relationships, having your girls having somewhere to go to talk about stuff is going to help your relationships. It's a huge benefit, and people miss that a lot. I know for me, like, I get more stressed with my guy friends if I don't have a female friend to vent to. Like, oh my God, he did this. He left the toilet seat up again. Like, help me. And it's stuff like that literally, like, it's helping the women, but it helps the men too, because they don't have to hear us complain after. And that helps the guys because they're so simple. So that was just really what I want to say about that. Does everybody kind of get a picture of where we're going with this, and what we're not trying to create and what we are trying to create? If you understand, write it in the chat. Like, you get it, I get it. If you have questions about it, I'm going to leave the mic up for about 2 minutes to anybody who has questions specifically about what we're creating in BabeWaves. So if anybody has it, mic is down. Go ahead and pick it up if you have a question or anything. Give it about 2 minutes. So awesome, Michelle. Who else? We all understand what we're doing here. Anybody got questions? Josabel, Heather, Nastasia. I'm so excited. All these babes are doing it. I'm so excited to work with every single person. Wave makers too, but like, I'm so excited to have female friends that I can talk to. That's just, understand each other. I think something Haley and I really appreciate about each other, she might have even said it earlier, is that like we get each other. We're on the same path. We have the same vision. So I'm really excited If nobody has questions, Tanya, awesome. If nobody has questions, we're just going to move on. We're going to tell you in the next 10 minutes about our 3-month push, and we're going to tell you about the structure of BabeWaves. So if everybody's ready, we're just going to jump right to that. So as you all know, we allow men to get on tonight. This is awesome. Men, we're not kicking you out. What we're going to do is the live calls are going to be for BabeWaves only, for females, women only. Men are going to be able to have the recordings and be able to watch the aftermath, because we don't want to prevent you from learning what we're teaching, what I'm teaching, what Haley's teaching, Sarah, etc. We want everybody to be a part of everything. But right now we're going to keep the live videos for women so that they can be vulnerable, so that they can talk just with their females. So once again, females only during the live call, and then males, you get to watch the recordings, you get to see everything, and we'll try to keep all of the nitty-gritty stuff on not part of the recording part of each video. So tonight was at 7, but we're going to be moving to after the 8 o'clock call, so probably about 9 o'clock on Friday nights. Just so more people can join. Our West Coast people are just finishing up work. We want them to be able to jump in. So we're going to do 9 p.m. from now on, or whenever the Wave Makers ends. You got something, Mike?
I have a quick question, Lexi.
What's that?
If I was to bring someone to BabeWaves,
Yes.
what is the most appropriate way to introduce them to the community of women empowering women?
So we have a group chat. What you would do is get on a call with Haley or I after we work with everybody else. Anybody else can take a call. But what we're going to do right now is just Haley and I are going to take new calls. We'll get to know them. We'll invite them on the call. They can come on Fridays. Any woman is welcome on the live calls. Just because it's really not a business setting as much as it's about how you present yourself and what you do. It's really for like women to have a community of women. So they can just text us, call us, email us, whatever, and then they can get added to our Facebook page so that they have it. Sound good? He's shaking his head over there. All right. So that's really just the structure of it. All right, so 3-month push. Haley and I designed a 3-month course to go inside of the 90-day challenge that Nick and Mike are, putting out there for Wave Makers. So it's going with it. It's nothing different. It's just that you get the Friday night live calls with the women. That's going to help you even more. Month 1, cutting the bullshit. So Haley and I talked about this one for a while. One of the things, actually, I'll let Haley tell what Tamia told her, and then I'll talk about what we're doing for month 1. So Haley, if you want to say what Tamia said, I think that'll be a good intro to what we're doing.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know who Tamia Williams is, she's a 6'8", 12-4 in Enagic, and she has multiple other businesses and things like that she does. She's a massively successful woman. And when I went to LA, for the Enagic conference, and I saw her speak on stage, and something inside of me was like, you need to talk to her. Like, you just need to talk to her. So I was like stalking her around the event until I actually got the guts to go talk to her. But so I asked her, I said, what is something that gets in the way of women being successful? Like, what is the number one thing? And she said, women let their emotions get in the way of business. And women are emotional creatures. We have the part of our brain that it has to do with emotions is much bigger than men's, right? And so that's essentially where we wanted to start, is like cutting the crap, not letting our emotions run our life, like really getting down to like, yeah, Lexi, if you want to go more into that, that would be awesome.
Of course. So I'm actually going to put Logan on the spot here. I'm not going to talk about what we talked about, but just a little bit in the fact of Logan and I were talking the other day. I was telling her about the plan Haley and I had put together, and she was like, wow, putting emotions before something like your why is really important, because you can have the best why in the world, but if you don't have control of your emotions and your drive and everything you do, your why isn't going to be able to be put out there the way it needs to be put out there. So what we did is we created 3 specific months dedicated to 3 different topics. Month 1 is cutting the bullshit. So we're dealing with the emotions of being a female. Everybody here knows, guys even know this, that when our bodies are doing something different once a month, we have trouble staying focused. We have trouble being our nicest. And I'm saying that because I'm blunt, guys. You're going to get used to that. I'm very blunt. I'm very transparent. it's sometimes hard for us to stay focused. And so we're going to teach you for the next 30 days, the month of May, we're going to teach all the females how to control that, how to deal with it. But also we're starting with cutting the bullshit, because something that I've had done to me multiple times, if I was going through, life changes or life challenges, my mentor, he would literally be like, Bexy, shut up, cut the bullshit. Be like, whoa, like, I'm just telling you what's going on. He's like, cut the bullshit. Like, and he's like, cut it. He's like, he was stopping me from telling the same story over and over again. So I'm going to tell you guys a story that he told me that basically changed my life. Everybody knows what a squirrel is, right? The little animal that goes in the trees. So there was a story that he told me, and I'm going to say it, and I want you guys to, whatever you're thinking when I'm doing it, type in the message, okay? Type whatever you are hearing in your head, and it's probably going to get annoying, so be prepared. So there was a wizard that saw a squirrel. He climbed up the tree and he saw the squirrel. The branch broke and he fell and hit his head. He couldn't remember. When he woke up, the squirrel was on the top of the tree. So he walked up the tree and he tried to get to the squirrel. The tree broke and he hit his head and he fell and he went unconscious. When he woke up, he saw the squirrel at the top of the tree and he walked up, and this just goes over and over and over again. And this is our default loop. In our head, we all do this. Why am I in the same place? Well, because I keep doing the same thing over and over again. Why is the same problem in my life? Because I keep saying the same excuse over and over and over again. And the story never changed. The wizard kept hitting his head and he kept going up. And yeah, exactly, Heather. The same thing, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is literally the definition of insanity. And you have to cut the bullshit. You have to accept where you are. You can't pretend you're somewhere else. You can't pretend you have more money than you do. You can't pretend you're more successful. You can't pretend you're older. You can't pretend anything. You have to cut the bullshit, accept where you are, and start now. And I know sometimes this is vulgar, but I actually had to do this in my head. You have to have a line in the sand where you literally stop yourself. And you're like, okay, I need to stop. I need to regroup. I need to deal with where I'm at now. A lot of people push off issues because they don't want to deal with it, because it's emotional, because it's stressful, because they're like, oh, it's really not a big deal. Just forget about it. It'll handle itself out. It usually doesn't. A lot of people that maybe like sexual assault victims or, just people that have had bad things happen in their life, they just tell themselves over and over again, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. And until you get to that point of I was a victim, I'm not a victim anymore, I was a victim, you will always be a victim. And it's everything in your life. It's talking about business. So a lot of people have an issue with having a lot of money. And I'll be completely honest, it's something that people don't know how to handle. They're like, when you're 12, you're like, I'm going to be a millionaire someday. And then you get $30,000 a year and you're like, I don't know what to do with $30,000 a year. How am I going to be a millionaire? It's just something that we don't understand. And you have to cut the crap. And it's not even that you can't be a millionaire. It's not that you don't deserve the $30,000. It's you have to cut the crap and accept that you need to grow more. You need to do more. You need to learn more. And until you understand where you are and accept it, you're not going to get anywhere. On a second note, the month is really called emotions because cut the crap is just the first step. After that, you have to deal with the emotions. You have to deal with the fear. If anybody knows the two definitions of fear, please type them out in the chat box. There's two definitions for what FEAR stands for. And we're going to focus on the second one. So if you know what that is, type it. I'll give a prize to whoever types it first. See if we can get people rattling their fingers fast. It's really important that we accept things like fear, inadequacy. You have to know. There you go, Haley. Haley's like, I'm going to get that prize. You have to accept where you are. If you don't accept where you are, you're not going to get anywhere. You can't start at if you don't accept that you're at the start line, you're not going to get anywhere else. You can't get to the finish line if you don't know you're at the start line. If you're thinking you're in the woods and you're thinking you're at the start line, it's just not going to make sense. So that's what we're doing. We're doing month one is emotions. The second month is your why. A lot of males can do things, and this is where BabeWaves really comes into play. Males can do things just because they want to. Women oftentimes have to have a why more in place than men do. And that's why we're going to focus on your why. If my dad wants to do something, he's just like, all right, I'll do it. And he does it. And I'm like, how did you do that? My dad literally went cold turkey, quit smoking when he was 36. When my mom found out they were pregnant with me, he stopped cold turkey. And his brother had been smoking just as long, and he still smokes to this day. My dad literally just decided he was going to stop. Now, my mom, on the other hand, my mom can't stop anything. She overeats, she does all this stuff, and she's just so emotional. So until recently, when her health was at risk, my health has even been at risk. That's how she got hooked on the water, is because she had an emotional attachment to getting better. She had emotional feeling and a why, because at the end of the day, like I even said to her once, I'm like, Ma, I want you to be here to meet your grandkids. And she teared and cried and all these things. And then she was like, okay, I get it. And so we have to have a why. Men can benefit from a why too, but oftentimes you guys are just kick-ass enough that you can do it on your own. So girls, we're going to come up with a why. We're going to really go into it. We're going to figure out how to work it, and we're going to do everything. We're going to do a BP4L, which is a business plan for our lives, and we're really going to kick butt in that. Month 3 is going to be about habits. You got the emotions taken care of. You got your why. Now we're going to get the habits that we need to have to get the life we want. It's about everything in the daily routine. I know Mike and Nick can both speak on this. They've started a daily routine they've stuck to, and it's really important. I had a daily routine. I'm even going to say that I haven't been the best at it lately, but I had a daily routine a lot of the time last year, and it's a reason of why I did what I did. So we're going to really engrave great habits, and this is another thing. So how many people here have ever struggled with eating healthy or working out? There's 2 parts to it. So vocabulary is huge. I have a huge problem with working out. It's not even that like I don't want to work out and I don't want to take care of myself. It's just getting myself to do it. So when I say I'm going to the gym to exercise, I have this bad connotation in my brain. I'm like that sounds so exhausting, all of this. What I started doing is I'm training for a Spartan race this year, is I said, I'm going to train myself. I changed the word from exercise to train. And because when I think of train, I think of strong, I think of motivation automatically. So it's really important that you take care of the vocabulary. So the second part of habits, and like after you have the vocabulary, sorry, I can't find my notes. Is having somebody keep it accountable for you. And a lot of people struggle with keeping ourselves accountable. And you know what? That's okay. If you've cut the bullshit and you've accepted that, that's great. Find another avenue. So Haley and I have actually talked about being accountability partners. And so we're going to get everybody else on board with us. And we're going to do this thing. So when you got introduced to Enagic, how many people heard the 100 machines to 6A and got a little bit freaked out? Like, be honest. Like, it's a little intimidating. You're like, oh my God, 100 machines? How are we going to do that? Well, this is something Haley and I came up with that's going to be really, really simple. Find 2 people to find 2 people and do that twice a month. Does that sound scary compared to 100 machines to get to 6A? It probably doesn't sound as scary. And the truth is, if you get 2 people to find 2 people twice a month, you're going to be at 6A in 3 months. I'm not saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, because Haley and I are on week 1. So we will let you know at the end of 12 weeks where we are, because we're going to keep each other accountable. We're going to deal with our emotions this month. We're going to deal with all of the other things. We're going to deal with our why. We're going to really nitpick our why, and then we're going to nitpick our habits. And at the end of 12 weeks, we'll tell you where we are and see if this works, because we are really excited, because I know for me, finding 2 people to find 2 people twice a month is a lot less scarier than looking at 100 machines in 90 days. So that's what we're doing. We're also creating tracking systems. So we are going to track, and Nick and Mike are a part of this too, we're going to track everybody's prospects. And the reason it's so important is because the money is in the follow-up. It's not always in the exposure. There's very little people who will buy at first exposure. There's a statistic out there now that's like, sometimes it takes 14 exposures to get people even interested. And I think we learned that at our New York event. It was something like that. Heather's shaking her head. So she was there with me. She knows what I'm talking about. So we really are going to track our systems, and Haley and I are going to be your accountability partners. We're going to give you an accountability partner next week, and we're going to nitpick, and we're going to get down to this. All right, what else we're going to do? There's going to be worksheets. I'm a true believer that everybody learns differently. There's 3 types of learner if people know how to do it. I'm a kinesthetic learner, which means I'm a hands-on learner. I'm somebody who learns by doing. There's other people. My mom, for instance, she's a visual learner. You show her, she's got it. She doesn't need anything else. And then there's people like my dad who are auditorial. And basically what that means is they can hear it and that they're good. They don't need anything else. And then there's also the unique people who are a little bit of everything. And something a lot of people also don't understand is that the way you teach and the way you receive are two different types of learners oftentimes. So you have to be aware of that. Something that I'll be teaching in skills videos are about like how you teach. You have to be able to morph who it is. So for instance, when I'm talking to my mom and my dad, a lot of people talk to my mom in a kinesthetic way, and she doesn't know what they're saying, or they talk auditorial, which is they're only teaching by saying. And I have to turn to my mom and tell her visually. And it's knowing something like that very simply that my mom doesn't learn auditorial that gives me the opportunity to teach her something. If you are out in a crowd and you're talking to someone and you're trying to, talk to them about a magic and you're just talking to them, it doesn't matter. What you need to do is if they're a visual learner, you need to pull up your phone, scroll through videos, click a video, hand it to them. They're visual, they need to see it. If it's a kinesthetic learner, you need to bring them to your house. You need to sit down, give them a glass of water, talk a little bit, and then be like, hey, so this machine, like, look at it. Like, wow, it's really dark in here behind me. So my machine, like, I have a cheat sheet for my dad because my dad doesn't see very well. So the machine, like, hey guys, so this is Kangen water. This is 9.5. This is what I drink. When my dogs need water, though, I just click it once and it's 8.5 as she's speaking to us as well. When I want to clean my face, I press beauty water. Isn't that awesome? Look at my complexion. It's changed so much since then. So it's stuff like that that's really important when you talk to people. It's knowing stuff like that. All right, so the worksheets are really going to help with that. We already talked about accountability partners. Women, we're going to give you accountability partners. We're literally going to go through next week. We're going to sit down, we're going to do a worksheet, and we're going to have you pick an accountability partner that's best for you. Somebody that fits with your schedule, somebody that fits with you personally. I have a whole way to figure that out. And we're just going to get you an accountability partner so that you can do your best and you have no excuse. So you can cut the bullshit. All right. I don't have the list of books, but we did start. Haley and I are going to give a book recommendation each month. If Haley remembers the second one, do you remember the one for why? I think.
It start with why.
It start with why. Okay. So the first month we're doing Maybe It's You. This book, I posted it in the female chat. I'll post it in the Wave Makers chat. Maybe It's You. The second book is Start With Why, and the third book is, Sarah recommended it, The Power of Habits. So that's what we're doing. This is going to be monumental. We are going to make a tsunami movement. I'm not even kidding. Boys, watch out. Your girls are coming for you. So I'm really excited. We have 3 minutes before the Wave Makers call, so I'm going to give you guys, get some water, take a bathroom break, get ready, get pumped. Nick and Mike are going to bring some heat. Wadia's going to come on. Thank you guys so much. I'm super excited. If you guys have any questions, feel free to, send Haley and I a message, put it in the group, whatever it is. I'm really excited. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. Have a great Friday night.